Let's get busy.
When people say, "Oh, ever since I left Christianity or religion, my life has just been so good." Well, duh, because you started with the enemy. He ain't gotta do nothing no more, baby. He already done got you. Why would he continue to attack you if you are already on his side? There's no need for that.
So, back when I was a very devout Christian and I was a youth leader, I hosted a Bible study. I was very heavily involved in ministry in general. I constantly lived in fear because I so heavily believed in the spiritual realm. I thought that the devil was constantly out to get me whenever I was, experiencing anxiety or frustration, any kind of negative feeling. It was directly tied to the devil. It was the enemy attacking me. It got to a point where I was actually very afraid of things. I was afraid of even sleeping in the dark because I knew that the devil was very much real. And I knew that I was a constant target for him because I was a Christian. And that's the thing about the human brain, right? When we feed it such a specific narrative time and time again, it starts to kind of like build your perception, and that starts becoming your reality. What you think and what you tell yourself over and over again eventually becomes your truth. But now here's what happened when I deconstructed and I left the Christian faith, as well as this whole idea that the enemy was constantly out to get me. The fear was gone. And it wasn't because I was now a part of his team, contrary to popular belief. It was because he never existed. The only time where he quote unquote existed in my life was when I gave him the attention, when I gave him the platform. And
Yeah, but you didn't have to give him the attention and platform in Christianity either. As a matter of fact, we are told that we are more than conquerors. And so, why were you even giving him attention in your mind? That's actually something Christians generally struggle with, is they give more power and more energy, so to say, to our adversary than necessary. Like, why are you doing that? If we are more than conquerors and we are more than conquerors through Christ, and if Christ is the one that defeated the adversary, even if you're not a Christian, you can follow along with this logic and it should make sense. What is your fear in him doing what he wants to do? What is your fear? This is basically an overly emotional girl who was taught a theology that wasn't beneficial. Like, if I'm a Christian, the whole point of being a Christian is to be able to see the devices of our adversary. But if you become a Christian and you become so hyper aware of the adversary and his devices that it's making you feel uncomfortable, then you're the problem. Here's an example. I get a pet mouse and I put the pet mouse in a separate room in the house, and I have kids, and I tell my kid, hey, I got you guys a pet mouse. They're harmless. You guys should learn to take care of it and all that stuff. Oh, daddy, I'm scared of the mouse. I put the mouse in a cage where it can do you no harm. You can go to the cage, get to know the mouse, and all of these things. Take your time, no rush, no harm. And so my child goes to the door, and before they even open the door to go into the room to look at the mouse, they say, I'm scared. I'm afraid. What if the mouse has gotten out of the cage? What if the mouse bites me? What if the mouse gives me some disease? What if the mouse starts chasing me around the house? I'm not faster than a mouse. They're really fast and they're scary. And before you even open the door, you start to make up and create a narrative in your mind about the mouse that actually doesn't exist. There are Christians like this. And so it's really easy to deconstruct something that wasn't constructed properly. Try to deconstruct the basement of a house. See how well that goes for you. You can't. It's built on solid foundation with solid material. You can't deconstruct a basement that easily. When I stopped being a Christian, all of that went away. Is there a world where if you were a Christian, you didn't have to deal with that? Because again, the whole point of being a Christian is to understand that you're in a position now that the person whom you're in a position with, his name is great enough to make them flee. It's quite astonishing the excuse people use for deconstruction when you could just say, I never really believed in the faith to begin with. Are you so logical and thoughtful that you deconstructed your faith and all of a sudden the fear went away? That means the fear was in your mind the whole time. You are the source of your fear. And as a matter of fact, I will bet you she's an anxious girl. I will 10 on 5 she is an anxious girl, because what the heck are you talking about? The idea of Lucifer doesn't just go away once you're not in Christianity anymore. Like, what kind of game? Or were you playing house? Like, oh, I'm a Christian, I must be wary of the adversary now. And then I'm no longer a Christian, the adversary is no longer there. Bruh, even more dangerous than not being a Christian, you are playing mind games with yourself. That's crazy. That means you're the type of person who can tell yourself to believe something and then you automatically believe it. So were you a Christian even to begin with? I wouldn't say you were. I wouldn't say you were, because even though you thought you were a Christian, you were battling with the very thing Christianity tells you you have victory over. And then you deconstruct your Christianity, and all of a sudden, the thing you're battling with disappears. It sounds like you had mental games going on that you just didn't want to address. Like, am I afraid of the adversary because I'm making things up? Or does the theology tell me that I have power over him? Why are you picking what you're picking, and why are you doing that? This lady actually makes zero sense when you think about it. When you deconstruct her deconstruction, it actually makes no sense at all.
My life, if that makes sense. And I was constantly thinking that this creature was attacking me. Again, that's how powerful your brain is. But the second that I said, you know what? I don't want to do that anymore. I don't want to feel like there's this big red man who's constantly out to get me. And I stopped blaming him for everything bad that I would experience, and I would simply just see it as a part of life, as a part of being a human being. Or perhaps I would sit down and be self-aware, self-reflect, and say,
why was that lost on you when you were a Christian, though? I don't understand, because that's what I do as well. Bad things that happen in life, obviously, is because man has an evil desire to do the things that benefits him. So in the process of doing things that fill his happiness, fill his desires, benefits him, someone else takes a hit for it. Happens all the time. And so I'm confused. If you were able to think logically after not being a Christian, then you were never, I can for sure 100,050 million% say you were never a Christian, because Christianity gives you the ability to think logically through things. It's as though Christianity is a patriarchal religion, and men generally tend to be more logical than women. And so they're able to reason through things a little bit better. And it sounds like you were missing that reasoning in Christianity. You probably did not have someone who could teach you well. This actually all sounds insane. When I left Christianity, I started thinking logically. That sounds sad. That sounds sad. And so you're not a trustworthy person, because you try to fit yourself into certain narratives without actually thinking for yourself in that narrative. Like, it makes me think like she's the kind of girl that, and I'm not talking about her specifically because I don't know her, but based on the personality and what she's saying, she's the kind of girl that would have friends who aren't popular, get to high school, become friends with the popular girls, and then switch up on you. All of a sudden, she's too good for you. All of a sudden, she doesn't have time to hang with you. All of a sudden, you guys don't spend time on the weekends going to the mall, talking on the phone, talking about friends and other people. All of a sudden, none of that. She doesn't really have time for that anymore, because now she fits into this box of popularity, and that's how she has to think. People always forget that Christianity opens your mind to proper reasoning of things. Spirituality. So when you consider the spiritual world to be the world that existed before our world, spiritually, things come before physically. So the spiritual world comes before the physical. It's the first world. We are the second world. What she wants to do is completely disregard the spiritual world and focus on the physical world. Hey, that's good for you. Good for you. But that's exactly what you're going to be held accountable for. You see, people think I'm just a good person, I can do good, and I'm just going to go to heaven. That's the complete opposite of what Christianity is asking you to do. It's asking you to put your trust and your faith in Christ, because he did things perfectly. You can never. And so when you say stuff like, I just stopped thinking essentially like a crazy person when I was a Christian, and I think more reasonably now, you're performative. You are a performative person depending on the position of life that you're in. You're never true to yourself, and you struggle with your identity. That's actually kind of crazy.
Hey, maybe this bad thing is happening to me because I caused this. I brought it upon myself. I stopped repeating that narrative in my head, And therefore, my reality shifted, and so did my perception of life. And so that's why the devil no longer attacks me, quote unquote. That's why the devil's no longer a part of my life. And that argument has never made sense to me, because you're telling me that once I become a Christian and I give my life to God and I'm doing everything right, then I'm going to get attacked by this big red man. But God is also so powerful, and he's all loving, and he's always going to protect us, and he gives us a peace that surpasses all understanding. How does that even make sense? Like, are we ever going to bring logical thinking, critical thinking into the picture? Is that ever going to be a thing? Because I swear, once you do, this whole argument makes zero sense. You guys have to understand that we don't believe in the devil. It's actually a beautiful thing. If anything, I hope you guys get to the point of realizing that if you guys don't make him such a huge thing in your life, you don't make him the center of your life and constantly blame him for everything, he's gonna leave you alone. Because it's not him, it's not the fact that he exists, it's the fact that you're making him exist in your own reality. We're no longer doing that. We're tired of that. We realize the whole scheme and we're not into it anymore. And I can only hope that you guys get there as well.
That just went way off the cliff. Okay, let's address this one by one. Bad things happen because you caused it. Yes, that's called accountability. Welcome to the world, woman. Oh my goodness. I can't believe she just went way off the rails. But of course, as the video is about to end, of course, she starts to bring in all of her internal narratives as to why Christianity isn't real. Look, man, the people that do this stuff where they're like blaming the devil for everything, yeah, that's not part of theology either. That's actually opposite. You see, there's a thing where there's the influence of the world, the influence of your own self, your desires, and those things compete for your attention. Oh, and then there's the influence of the devil himself. Now, mind you, again, she didn't address the girl in the beginning of the video at all. The girl said, once you're part of the enemy's team, there's no reason for him to torment you, which is kind of sort of true. It's not all the way true, because if it were, there wouldn't be criminals. If it were, there wouldn't be mass murderers. If it were, there wouldn't be people who want to commit genocide and rape and assault people, right? So there are people on the enemy's team that he uses to commit these foul things against humanity, these sins against humanity. There's that.
And that argument has never made sense to me, because you're telling me that once I become a Christian and I give my life to God and I'm doing everything right, then I'm going to get attacked by this big red man. But God is also so powerful, and he's all loving, and he's always going to protect us, and he gives us a peace that surpasses all understanding.
And then the part that where he gives us a peace that surpasses all understanding, that part isn't that bad things aren't going to happen to us. I actually don't think this girl was a Christian at all. She hosted Bible studies for who? Kids? Because this is elementary Christian doctrine. This is so elementary. This is like me teaching an 8-year-old what it is to be a Christian. Like, this is me debunking or explaining things to an 8-year-old. You're a grown lady. You had Bible studies and stuff. This tells me that you have bad theology. You had bad teachers. Now consider this, the peace that surpasses all understanding. If I were to tell you, hey, there's a war going on and I'm going to send you into the war, but I just want you to know and understand that the clothes that you're wearing is all protective. Nothing is going to penetrate the clothes. Nothing is going to kill you. But beware, bullets are going to hit you. It's going to hurt. Bombs are going to go off. The pressure of the explosion is going to push you into things, and you're going to hit things, and it's going to hurt. You might break some bones, but no matter what happens to you, you can't die. And so you go into the war and you get hit by a bullet. First thing you do is you say, yeah, but I thought you said nothing's going to happen to me. Yet you're not going to die. That's the peace that I'm giving you, is you have victory in eternity with Christ. In Christian terms, that means things are going to happen to you, but when we pass away, we have peace. We are going to be with Christ in eternity in heaven. But your first thought is bad things are happening, so this peace doesn't exist. You are a child. You didn't even make it through elementary Christianity, because this sounds so sad. This actually, if she were my friend, I'd be like, hey, the peace that surpasses all understanding. Did you read the context around this at all? Let's sit down and have have a talk, because this actually makes no sense. You're creating a narrative. So she actually deconstructed a Christianity that doesn't exist. And that's my problem with deconstructionists, is they don't actually sit down with people who understand the Bible through and through and can give them a proper understanding. No, they just find some things on social media. It makes sense in their head, so they go ahead and deconstruct a narrative of Christianity. Christianity has been tested time and time again, man. There is no actual deconstructing of the faith. Like, there is not a deconstructing of the faith. I can't deconstruct you as much as you cannot deconstruct Christianity. It's a living thing. It's a living embodiment of people who follow Christ. You cannot deconstruct that narrative. It's in deconstruct. You cannot deconstruct it. So take that lesson. If you see this video, I feel bad for you. I feel sorry for you, for whoever was your headship in learning and understanding Christianity, because they failed you big time. Guys, subscribe, like the video, and I will catch you on the next one. Peace.